Even the Prince of Darkness makes people skip a track. These are the least streamed songs by Ozzy Osbourne. The way I did it was I went through all the album tracks on YouTube Music. That's a streaming service I use. I looked for album tracks that had under 1 million plays. Most of the songs have over 1 million, some a lot more. I just included album tracks. I didn't include any demos or live tracks or anything like that. I wanted to include standard album tracks. So I made a few interesting observations. For example, the Ordinary Man album didn't have anything under 1 million plays. I found that surprising. Same could be said for Diary of a Madman, No More Tears, and The Ultimate Sin. Every song on all the albums I just mentioned, those 4 albums, had over 1 million plays. There are a few of his later albums, such as Black Rain and Scream, which had a few songs under 1 million, so I didn't choose every song on those albums. I made a list of 12 songs, which we will consider for the purposes of this video to be his least popular or least streamed songs. So let me get into it. The first track is No Bone Movies with 775,000 plays. This was the only one from Blizzard of Oz, and I'm surprised this one had such a low number because it's a pretty good song. I think the song title is pretty weird, and if you read the lyrics, it's pretty out there. I'm not going to describe what it's about, but I guess by looking at the title, you get the idea. But as for the song, it's a really cool guitar riff by Randy Rhoads. It has that 1970s hard rock type of feel. When you hear the guitar riff, I was thinking of like Ritchie Blackmore from Rainbow, something along those lines. And I think it deserves to be a lot more popular. That's my first unpopular pick. So let me get to the next one. Now the next one was my biggest surprise. It's called Spiders. This one has 726,000 plays. It's from Bark on the Moon, and I've always said this is one of my all-time favorite songs by Ozzy. It has a cool bass guitar by Bob Daisley. This overall creepy vibe, which Ozzy does best. There's also some keyboard sections in the song, and Jake E. Lee plays this awesome guitar solo. I guess it's understandable that this one has a low number because it wasn't included on all versions of the album. I believe this was only included on the UK version, which had a different track listing than the North American version. But overall, I believe it's one of his best songs, and I've said it many times in different videos whenever I talk about Ozzy. Next is One Up on the B-Side with 665,000 plays. From the same album, Bark at the Moon. Another one I think should get more attention because it's a really good song. The keyboards kind of make it sound almost like a Deep Purple type of song. Jake E. Lee plays some awesome guitar riffs. I think this wasn't included on the North American version. The guitar solo on this track is very awesome, and I guess I understand why it's not as popular because it kind of has a weird song title. It's basically telling people it's the B-side of a single, but I don't know if it was meant as a joke, but it probably deserves more plays. The next song is the last track from No Rest from the Wicked, and the song is called The Liar. It has 650,000 plays. It's different, one of his ballads. It's a very laid-back piano-based ballad with lots of different keyboard synths in the background. Probably could have been a hit if it had been released as a single. It also has a little bit of this dark and creepy vibe, which makes it a good song. On top of that, it has a pretty catchy chorus. The guitar solo by Zakk Wylde is really good. It's melodic, and it sounds a lot different than what you would expect because he slows it down. He doesn't just go into full shred mode. It's a really good song, and I'm surprised it's not more popular. Next song I have is from the Osmosis album, and it's called The Whole World's Falling Down with 556,000 plays. It's one of his heavier songs, has some cool guitar riffs by Zakk Wylde. He plays these nice harmonics. The song is pretty melodic as well. I think the only reason it's not as popular because it appears towards the end of the album. In fact, I will be talking about a song that's right after this as well. But I think the album placement is another factor in why some songs are not as popular. I thought it was a pretty decent track. I wouldn't consider it to be one of my favorites, but it has some pretty cool guitar playing on it. And that's all I have to say about it. So the next song on the Osmosis album is called Amy, and it has 646,000 plays. This song is about Amy Osbourne, who is the oldest daughter of Sharon and Ozzy. She's kind of the forgotten daughter of the Osbournes because she never appeared on their reality show that was in the 2000s. Most of the attention went to Jack and Kelly. But this song came out in 1995. I guess Amy was about 12 years old at the time. It's a typical ballad with pianos and orchestration and everything like that. To be honest, not really the most memorable song. It's a typical ballad, very similar to his other ballads like Dreamer or any of the other ones. But it's an interesting one because it's the daughter that was probably the least famous, and that's what makes it interesting. Next song is from Down to Earth. It's called You Know Part 1. This one only has 297,000 plays, and it's a short acoustic song. It seems to be Ozzy singing about his children or something like that. The song is only 1 minute and 7 seconds long, and it's also right in the middle of the album. So I think there are people who just skip the song when they listen to this album because a lot of tracks right after this have a lot more plays. So for example, the song after this is called Junkie. That one has over 1 million plays. But I didn't include it on this list. It's also one of his most popular songs. But this is one of those songs that people just tend to skip. The next song I have is from Down to Earth called Alive. It has 381,000 plays. The song appears towards the end of the album. It's the penultimate track. I'm surprised it doesn't have a lot of plays because the opening guitar riff is pretty heavy. The middle of the song is a little more laid back with some cleaner guitars and softer singing by Ozzy. But overall, it's a pretty catchy song. I like the chorus, has a cool chugging guitars. I think it's a decent song. There were a few other songs that had less than 1 million plays from this album, so I decided to choose 2 songs from Down to Earth, which were the 2 songs with the least amount of plays. So the next songs will be from the Black Rain album. So for this album, Black Rain, I chose 2 songs again, but it was surprising because a lot of songs in this album had over 1 million views, and if you watched my previous video, you would know that I Don't Want to Stop was in the top 10 most popular songs. But the first song I want to talk about is called 11 Silver, and it only has 594,000 plays. I'm kind of surprised this was not as popular because it's one of the heavier tracks. It's pretty fast paced and some of the heavier guitar riffs. It has this nu metal and industrial type of sound, so that might cause people to skip it. Also keep in mind, it's track number 6. It appears right in the middle of the album. So the most logical conclusion is that people are skipping it. The track that comes right after this is called Civilize the Universe. It has 650,000 plays. I guess it's another one that people are skipping. It might because it kind of has this weird, almost new wave or post-punk type of sound in the intro. When I heard the first few seconds, it reminded me of the intro to Knight Rider, but I don't think it's a bad song. It just sounds pretty different than what you would usually hear on an Ozzy album. But on the plus side, it's a really catchy song. When the chorus comes in, it's pretty catchy. I don't have any issues with the song. I think people are skipping over it because it has this almost electronic type of sound. For the Scream album, there are a few songs with under 1 million plays, but I decided to choose the one song that had the least amount of plays. It's called I Love You All. It had 291,000 plays. It's track number 11 on the album, and this album has 14 tracks, so it's only 1 minute long. It's definitely something people are skipping. I'm surprised people skip it though. It kind of sounds like a filler at first, but if you listen to the whole thing, it actually sounds pretty good. It reminds me of one of those Beatles songs from their psychedelic era. It has this Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds type of influence. So despite being 1 minute long, it's pretty cool. I have one more song to talk about. It's from the last album, Patient Number 9. It's the last track called Dark Side Blues. This one has 493,000 plays. It's another song. It's short. It's under 2 minutes. And it's the last song on the album. I think people are just shutting off the album once it starts because it's a different type of song. As the song title suggests, the blues track, it sounds like those old blues songs that were played back in the 1920s. Ozzy's vocals are very processed and filtered, but it's a cool song. Has some slide guitar playing, and I guess people just don't like it. Check out the video I did last week on the top 10 most popular songs by Ozzy Osbourne. This is based on the songs that got the most number of streams or most number of plays on both Spotify and YouTube Music. Check that out. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Please give this video a like. Helps me with the YouTube algorithm. Please subscribe. If you have not already, I do rock and metal reviews, rankings, and more. And I will see you in the next one.